UFC on ESPN 4 goes down this Saturday. It is Dos Anjos versus Leon Edwards. Interesting fight. It's a big fight in the welterweight division. Leon Edwards is surprising a few people, I think, in the division with a big win over Gunnar Nelson and out-grappling him. Rafael dos Anjos seems to be having some kind of resurgence, but let's talk about it and let's see if we believe he will continue that resurgence. We're going to go down the full main card, start the main event, give our predictions, give our picks, and break down the fight. So I'm going to throw it to you first. Last week I asked you this question. Was the main event for that card worthy of being an ESPN Plus main event?
Yep.
You said no. Is this worthy of being an ESPN, a big ESPN main event?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
This could potentially be Leon Edwards' coming out party because he's been on a bit of a tear. His last loss was, who we were looking at it earlier, his last loss was to
Kamaru Usman,
who's now the champion.
Yes.
So that form is quite good. He's been on a bit of a tear since. I think this is a good step up for him to good title level opposition now.
Yeah.
If he gets a win here, he's in title contention with one more win probably. It's a bit clogged to the top there, but yeah, I think it's more than worthy of an ESPN card.
Yeah, I agree. And the best thing he could probably do is if he does win this fight, call out Jorge Masvidal because they had that little back and forth.
Yeah, that fight has to get made.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like the fight. I think it's worthy of being a main event as well. And I'm glad that Leon Edwards is getting this opportunity because when we had PT Carroll from MMA Fighting on, he was adamant. He was like, give Leon Edwards his shot. And I think this is a big fight for him. He hasn't had too many fights in the States. Don't know how many. I'm not sure if this is his first. I don't think it's his first. But it's definitely his biggest platform. And it's against a really good guy and a fairly popular guy. I don't think RDA was ever the biggest star for the UFC.
No.
But he was a bit of a star. He was a champion. So he is a former champ. And as I said, he's on a bit of a resurgence. That win over Kevin Lee I thought was very impressive.
Yeah.
It was Kevin Lee's first foray up to welterweight. I think it showed a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought RDA showed a lot of experience getting that win. It was a beautiful triangle choke. And I thought he just fought very, very smart. He knew that Kevin Lee was going to come out aggressive, and he just weathered that storm. And sometimes we saw RDA in the past kind of wilt to that storm.
Yeah.
When guys, he's a great grappler, a really good jiu-jitsu guy, but when guys really pushed on him, he wilted a little bit. And I thought that was a really good performance. I thought it showed us a lot about RDA. With Leon Edwards, since that fight with Kamaru Usman, and maybe the Donald Cerrone fight, but Cerrone was a different guy. I think back then he's looked a lot better recently. I think it's probably his toughest fight to date.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. Especially just RDA is just such a solid guy.
Yeah.
He's always a good yardstick for anyone.
Yeah.
Such a tough matchup for Leon, really. I mean, I thought Gunnar was going to get the win. Leon surprised me big time.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to write him off here whatsoever after that.
And the biggest surprise in that fight was that he out-grappled Gunnar Nelson.
That was it.
Gunnar got it to where he wanted it to be on the floor while he was put there.
Yeah.
But even on his back, Gunnar's usually very, very good. And Leon was... I think this is with Leon. He's very good at doing the basic stuff.
Yeah.
And he's really, really good at that. And I think that's why he probably hasn't broke out the way a lot of other people has, because he's not really
effective fighter.
Yeah, he's not really flashy in any particular way. He doesn't have killer jiu-jitsu. He's not this one-punch knockout guy. He's just very good at everything. And that can be very, very frustrating for certain guys to fight. And I think it could be a problem for Dos Anjos here because I think Edwards will just be in his face and fighting well for the entire fight. Yeah.
I mean, let's be real, the only reason anyone in America would probably know who Leon Edwards is because of the three-piece Minnesota.
Yeah.
So that's why I said this could be his breaking out party. But the odds are obviously Leon is a small favourite. He's 8-11, and Dos Anjos is evens, which I was a bit surprised at. I thought Dos Anjos, if either of them, might be a slight favourite.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably fair. I'd very much lean towards Leon, but tough fight for him.
Yeah, he has a nice reach advantage on RDA, and he does use that well. He's not, as I said, he's not this crazy great striker, but he's very effective. And his wrestling isn't really, really good, but he mixes it in well with his strikes.
Yeah, MMA wrestling is good.
It's very good, yeah. I'm very interested to see what RDA looks like, because that was a very good performance. But before that, the Kamaru Usman fight and the Colby Covington, which, both of them fights are seemingly like the worst style matchup for him. These really good grapplers who can kind of grind them out a little bit. And Edwards isn't necessarily that guy, but I think he's just well-rounded. I think he's very, very good. RDA is a big puncher, but we haven't seen that trouble Leon Edwards before. He doesn't really get hit that much. I'm leaning towards Edwards.
Yeah, I'm going to take Leon as well in this.
Yeah. Let's see what Tapology are going. I'm going to go Edwards by decision. And I think RDA will win some rounds in there. I don't think it's going to be a clear 5-round thing. I think maybe we'll have Leon winning the early rounds, and RDA might take the latter, because RDA's cardio is quite good.
This is probably Leon's first 4 out of 5 rounds
in the UFC anyway. I think he had that main event slot against Cerrone, but that did that go 5 rounds? Let me just double check that. Leon Edwards, I don't think he finished Cerrone, did he?
Decision, I think.
Yeah, decision. I believe that was 5 rounds, because that was a main event, wasn't it?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, and he looked good. Like, I think RDA probably has the edge in cardio, because his cardio is always pretty good. Well, yeah, I'm going to go with Edwards, and it's actually completely the opposite way. It's 64% on Tapology are going for Dos Anjos.
Interesting.
36%.
That doesn't surprise me massively.
Doesn't surprise me at all. And, like, to be honest, before I thought about this fight, I was like, RDA is good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go RDA. But the more I think about it, I just think Edwards is very well rounded. I'm going to go with Edwards.
Yep.
Same.
Yeah, I'll take Leon as well. Maybe a late finish.
Oh, late finish. Look at him. Co-main event is Alexei Olenek against Walt Harris. A bit of a weird fight, in my opinion. Walt Harris looks good in spots, and he's had some really good wins. He's also had some weird losses, like the one to Mark Godbeer, the DQ loss, the illegal kick, and he also ran into Fabricio Verdun pretty early on. Alexei Olenek, another kind of weird fighter in a way, where he catches people in Ezekiel chokes in no-gi. Of course, it's no-gi, it's MMA, but it's weird.
His record is insane. 57-11.
I know, and imagine how many fights unsanctioned he had.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. I don't know about this fight.
It's a poor co-main, to be honest.
I agree, it's a bit of a poor co-main, and I feel like Olenek can probably catch him, because Walt Harris's submission game isn't great. But I also feel like if Walt Harris does keep it on the feet, Alexei has shown, like in his last fight against Alistair Overeem, he can get caught. I'm not really sure where to go on this one.
Not a great fight, to be honest. Not that interested in it. 11-7 from Walt Harris, not a great record. To be honest, I don't know a whole pile about either of these guys. I'd be interested to see the odds. I'll have a look now.
What's with Olenek's record there? It's weird the way it's isn't it?
I changed it because Rob was using some dodgy stuff there, so the language is different.
It's got a VPN.
Yeah.
It's a way to get on the Fight Pass. So this is a kind of a shot in the dark. Not a shot in the dark, because I know about guys very well, but like,
it's just a fight you feel like you've seen before, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just something about it. It's not great. It really isn't great.
Walt Harris is quite a slight favourite, 4-7, and Olenek is 5-4.
Yeah.
Doesn't really do anything for me either.
Like, I could really see it going both ways, but what I see more is that Olenek is getting a little bit old, and Walt Harris will land a heavyweight shot.
Yeah.
I kind of hate saying, a heavyweight, this guy punches big, because everybody punches big at heavyweight. But Walt Harris does have a nice shot in him, so we'll go with Walt Harris by some kind of finish. But it would not surprise me if he gets caught with a submission, because he's not great at defending them.
I don't know with this one. I think this will be a fight maybe where I go make some food or something.
Will he be making some food in the third fight down, which is Greg Hardy against Juan Adams? Another kind of weird spot. It's surprising that this isn't the co-main event, just because it seems to be on brand for the UFC to put him in the co-main event. But we have Greg Hardy here, who's a really good athlete. You have to give it to him. Very good athlete against Juan Adams, who, heavyweight. He's a big puncher, as I don't like to say. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Greg Hardy here. I just think Juan Adams had a good run in the Contender Series, had that good win, but his last loss against Arjun Buller, didn't look overly impressive. I just think that Greg Hardy has enough athletic ability. And he's not the worst fighter in the world. You know, you see him throwing punches. He's learning. And so is Juan Adams. They're both learning. They're both very similar in their careers, as in one is 5-1, Juan Adams. Greg Hardy's 4-1. So they're both at similar stages of their career. None of them right now are world beaters, but I'm going to take the better athlete, in my opinion. I'm going to take Greg Hardy.
Yeah, I think we spoke last time Greg Hardy was fighting. I think everything we said then pretty much applies to this fight. Yeah, he's well matched. He's learning on the job, and he's been matched accordingly. Yeah, so and I'll take Greg Hardy.
As we said, much like every heavyweight fight, somebody could get caught here, and it could be over really, really quickly.
The odds are actually interesting.
Yeah,
this is obviously my first time looking at the odds. Greg Hardy 10-11, Juan Adams 4-5. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, I kind of get it. Like, it's definitely Hardy's best opponent to date. Yeah, like, the guy can fight. He's a good puncher, but. Yeah, we'll see. It might be, if he gets some takedowns, it might be interesting. I'd like to see what happens.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see him put in positions that he hasn't been put in yet. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see him matched where he's going to learn with guys who are going to put him in position, not maybe the highest level, but who can put him in positions he hasn't seen before. Yeah.
So if I was the promoter, I would push them two fights down. Although maybe just, having Greg Hardy up there, it helps with the builds. But these next three fights are probably the better fights on the card apart from the main event. It is James Vick versus Dan Hooker.
That's a fun
excellent fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man Hooker, yeah. It's a really good fight. I'm looking forward to that
one. So, interesting one for a couple of reasons. James Vick, as we know, is huge for the weight class. Dan Hooker, as we know, fights really well at range. Will that cancel itself out? Potentially. Will that really take away a lot of Dan Hooker's abilities? He loves to throw that knee up the centre, but it's not something that's going to really work. I kind of struggle with a pick on this one because I feel like some of the best things that Dan Hooker can do is against guys who are significantly smaller. I got there. Smaller than him. And James Vick isn't that guy. Yeah. But I still feel like Dan Hooker can put it together much better than James Vick. James Vick for me sometimes is just, I don't know, I think he's brought his skills, or he's brought his career further than his skills in a way. Like, he's outperformed what his skills are. I just feel like a lot of the time he defensively isn't very sound. He leans back a lot with his hands down. We've seen that against Paul Felder, where he was going against the cage, hands down, head back, and he was getting caught. So I'm kind of going with my heart on this one as well, because I'm a big fan of the way Dan Hooker works and fights. So I'm going to go with Dan Hooker, but it wouldn't surprise me either way.
Yeah, the odds probably reflect that. Dan Hooker's 8-13 and James Vick 6-5. I like Hooker as well, probably. But again, I think Vick, not too sure how he'll turn up on the night. Because I think you're right. I think he's a guy who has potentially overachieved to some extent. But I like Dan Hooker. I think he's very good. I really rate him.
The interesting thing about Vick, I find as well, is that when he was talking after his UFC loss, his initial one, he was like very, very upset over, because he felt like the UFC don't really like the way he fights and don't really like to promote him. So he felt like because he got that loss, he was so far away from a title. So I wonder if that kind of plays into his mindset as well going into fights. You'd wonder.
It probably does, to be honest.
Francisco Trinaldo against Alexander Hernandez is next on the card. This is a fun fight as well.
Yeah, who was Trinaldo matched against last?
I'll check that now. I can't remember off the top of the head. But
that's an interesting matchup. I think that's a good matchup.
I think so as well. Trinaldo was matched against Evan Dunham and got a win. Trinaldo is the guy who gets wins over people that you don't expect. Like, he has that win over Paul Felder, of course, it was the cut. But even when you go back further, like, he had that win over Norman Park, which was ugh. Yeah. But then, wins over Ross Pearson, Jim Miller, Yancy Medeiros. He's a tough guy to fight.
Very solid resume there.
Yeah, very, very solid.
Alex Hernandez, that's the guy who Cowboy fought when he came back to lightweight. Yeah, he was a good prospect. Yeah,
he was a good prospect, and
still is, to be fair.
He is.
But
I think he'll take that loss well. He seems like a very analytical guy, Hernandez, and it was a knockout loss. So you always wonder how these guys are going to return after getting knocked out. Yeah, it's his first loss and knockout.
Mentally, it's a big thing to take on board, and you have to really look at yourself and say, okay, this is what I did wrong, and then it does change you as a fighter. You're a bit more wary to stick your chin out or to put your hands down.
because like you always hear about guys talking about how, you know, before I got knocked out, and there's many instances of this, before I got knocked out, I felt invincible. Like I felt like I could take any shot. And there's guys that like made their career on that, like Chuck Liddell just felt like he could take any shot and he walked through punches. And then as he started getting knocked out, he just could not do that anymore. You know, I did change him as a fighter.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he looks. I'll just have a look at the odds on that one.
Yeah, but yeah, I like the way both guys fight at times. But I think Hernandez, I still feel like he's a really good prospect. Tough one for him to come back against such an experienced guy, good kickboxer. But I just feel like he has the edge on the feet. I think he's the fresher, faster guy. And even on the floor, he has good wrestling, and we can see where he takes it. But I'm going to go with Hernandez in this one.
Yeah, he's 4-7, and Trinaldo's 5-4. I think it's priced pretty fairly.
That kind of makes sense. So I'm actually going to check Tapology on this one. Cause
I'll take Hernandez in that one as well, I think.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where he can go, to be honest. Interesting guy. 79% Hernandez. Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
deep.
I do like Hernandez.
I do like him. That's deep though. The
We're
opener.
going deep.
The opener on the main card is Andrei Arlovski versus Ben Rothwell. You said something to me when you saw this fight. What did you say?
It just feels like a heavyweight fight that I've seen before.
Yeah.
It's like, have they fought before?
I need to check
it
that.
just feels like something. It's just a heavyweight bout, innit? It's two heavyweights who are just perennially there. They're just always there.
Yeah.
It's just always there. It just feels like a fight I've seen before.
Let me see. Andre.
They definitely haven't.
They have.
Have they?
They have.
How many times? Just the once.
Once, yeah.
When?
That was in... Oh, shit! Yes, Affliction 1. I remember that. We're doing this live, bro.
When was that?
That was 2008. So let's not take that one into account.
The matchmaking is so weird. Yeah.
That was Affliction 1. Donald Trump had a stake in that promotion.
Great, had he?
Yeah.
Bastard.
Hilarious. It went under as all Donald Trump's
It
businesses
doesn't surprise me that.
Ain't none of my business. So yeah, it is a fight that happened before. So well done.
Yeah, I did. Just to be clear, I actually didn't know it had happened before. You just look at it and you're like, that fight definitely has happened before.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
So this is a weird one, right? Because Andrei Arlovski, I'm gonna go with Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell, in his last fight, I thought he clearly won it against.
I remember that. Yeah.
Against
no one was the same.
Ivanov. Yeah, I thought it was a clear win for him, and I think one of us picked against him. I'm not sure. Noel might have picked against him, and he admitted it. Andrei Arlovski, he came back from the fucking dead, because Andrei Arlovski, when he was outside the UFC fighting Tim Sylvia for the 7th time, he was getting absolutely just knocked out by everybody. Came back and his chin like magically restored itself. I wonder what happened.
Interesting.
But he's on a very, very poor run now. But all decision losses, hasn't got finished. I'm going to go with Ben Rothwell here. I think Ben Rothwell is still not a contender right now, but I still think he can mix it up with the best of them. He's only had one fight since 2016. That was the Ivanov fight, and I thought he looked good in that fight. I thought he won that fight fairly clearly. And he's just an awkward guy to fight.
Yeah.
The way he moves, like he has this weird, like they should call him like Bigfoot Kung Fu or something. The way he kind of moves is just like very strange. Throws punches from awkward angles. Andrei Arlovski, much more classically trained boxer, but I just feel like Ben Rothwell, in all his awkwardness, can outwork Andrei Arlovski, probably to the decision, but maybe he can get that little finish in there.
The odds on this one, Ben Rothwell quite a big favourite, 4-9, one of the biggest favourites on the card, and then Andre 13-8. This fight, I don't know, like they're kind of just two guys who are padding out that thin heavyweight division, aren't they? It's the handy lads for the UFC to have around, and we're like, okay, we're a bit stuck here, we'll fucking bang two of these heavyweights on the card, like, you know. So yeah, it's a grand fight.
It's a grand fight. I like it.
It's grand. Like, I'm not that excited by it. I don't expect much fireworks in it. Andre's coming to the end of his career, obviously not getting finished. I think it'll take a lot for the UFC to cut these guys. They're filling out a thin division. I'll take Ben as well.
I wonder if Andre loses this one 4 in a draw.
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's hard to see even Ben making a run at a title now. It's unlikely.
It's very unlikely.
It's unlikely.
Yeah,
but
I do like Ben Rothwell.
Yeah,
I'll
take Ben as well in this one.
Yeah. Anything on the prelims that stick out to you?
Give me a quick look at the card here.
Bring it up there. I have a couple here that stick out. Alex Caceres and Steven Peterson. I like Alex Caceres. I know a lot of people don't, but I like the way he fights. I think he's fun. again, he's one of those guys who he's never going to make a run for a title. A bit of a gatekeeper, like a lower level gatekeeper, but I think he's very fun to watch in there. Sam Alvey's on the card. We'll see how he gets on. He can be fun at times. Ray Borg as well.
Very low down the card.
Yeah, very low down the card. Crazy thing about Ray Borg, and I hope his son is okay, because he's had a lot of health problems. But man, Ray Borg, like since Demetrius Johnson, which feels like such a long time ago, he's only had one fight against Casey Kennedy, who isn't the best fighter in the world. He's good prospect, and he lost that one by decision. Didn't look great, and he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cancelled bouts between that, and a lot of it was to do with the issues that he was having. But yeah,
we were saying earlier about professionalism and not being reliable and being able to turn up. This is something that's totally beyond his control.
It is, yeah.
It's totally extenuating circumstances in this case. It's
but
not,
he missed weight a lot of times as well.
He did, yeah.
But yeah.
But how much did the family start? It's just a shitty situation.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to slag Ray Borg.
No, definitely not. But yeah, against Gabriel Silva, so that's an interesting one. Yeah.
That's about it.
It's the main card is good. I like the main card.
It's solid.
I think you have 3 good fights in my opinion: the Arlovsky, Rothwell, Trinaldo, Hernandez, and Vick and Hooker. And then you have Hardy and Olenek and Harris. That those fights kind of wedged in between a really good fight. So it's kind of it's laid out very strangely, but I like it.
So apparently if you press this button somewhere here, it subscribes and you get all the notifications for the show. So hit that button there.
You have to click the bell though to get the notifications
here.
down the bottom.
Make sure you hit that, and they get the ringer things, because Rob didn't know. So it's the button there or there.
It's somewhere roughly around that area.